This is Lady Myya. Hello, you guys. We are back with another podcast. So I am joined today, you guys, by Rick DellaRatta. Did I say it right? I always try. I was just like, no, please get it right. Okay, so he's a very interesting individual because the brother man is a writer, a singer, and a composer, and he's going to tell us some stories, and I'm ready. So, my Mayan tribe, please welcome Mr. Rick. Hello, sir.
Hey, Myya, thank you so much. I love that name. Was that always your name? Because you know that's from an ancient tribe, right?
Yes, I know, right? You would think everything is ancient. Yes.
They spell it M-A-Y-A, but yours is M-Y-Y-A, right?
Yes. Yes. And that's why. And so, okay, so you being, first off, hats off to writers, especially songwriters. That is a hard industry. It's so difficult. So how did you even get into something like that?
What happened to me was I was staying up waiting for Santa Claus. I was about 5 years old, and I had been staying up every year, and I could have been 6 because I failed a couple years. You know how it is. You're waiting for Santa, and your eyes, and you try to keep your eyes open, and they just forget about it. You're next thing you know, it's the next morning. It's a done deal. Santa's already came. The presents are there. Forget it. You gotta wait till next year now if you want to see him. So I was really gonna see him this time, and I'm waiting, and finally, there was a rumble downstairs, and something was coming through the front door, and it was a big fat guy at the back end of it, and something big was coming in. And I just figured that had to be Santa Claus because, A, it's Christmas Eve, you know what I mean? He's supposed to be here anyway about this time,
Right.
And, I'm waiting for him. So it can't be, it can't be anybody else. It's got to be him.
Exactly.
So, yeah, now I couldn't get caught because my parents were already on to me. So they were real strict. They were real, they didn't want me, they didn't want any part of me catching Santa Claus. So I couldn't let them know. So I just had a small window of ability to kind of peek around a corner from the upstairs. It was a, banister, and it was just barely. But I caught a glimpse, and I was like, "That's good enough for me. I'm going to bed," because I was, I was really ready. Yeah, because I tried so hard for this moment. Santa Claus came. He brought something in the front door. That's all I knew. When that next morning was Christmas. And there's this big giant thing that it wasn't there yesterday, so he must have brought it. Now we're talking like a baby grand piano.
Oh.
And apparently my father had gotten it for my mother, and my father was in the early part of his business. It was a law practice, so probably this piano company owed him money, and he accepted a piano as payment because when you're starting out in the business, you know how it is, right?
Yeah.
So you can't, you gotta wheel and deal a little bit. This is just, probably what happened because we used to get a lot of strange things at the house that we didn't really need, and I knew the guy, I knew these people probably it was part of the payment,
Right. Of course.
We had people working in our basement for a long time, what are they doing down there? Well, he got them out of trouble. That's all they know how to do is fix things, these kinds of things.
Oh.
So now this piano's in there, and I'm going to figure this out because it was brought in by Santa. So I got to figure out what this is. Mm-hmm. So I'm just up playing the piano like this, standing, and hoping nobody catches me. And eventually I did get caught, and my mother did ask me if I wanted to take piano lessons. And I said no because I really wanted to learn the piano on my own. I still want to learn it on my own. I'm still, that'll never end. But she did take me one day to a piano teacher, and, the rest is history. It was just onward, upward from there, studying music, playing in bands, doing this, doing that. And eventually I started an organ. Well, at 9/11, I started an organization called Jazz for Peace, where I was able to bring my philanthropic interests into, my save the world ideas into my musical talents, merge the two,
Right.
and that's kind of made me feel a bit kind of rich inside. I got a little bit of wealth in the right area doing that.
That is so interesting. Okay, yeah, you know what? It's sometimes it takes a small thing, right? And at least it looks like a small thing looking back, right? You're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. But when you're small, everything is big, right? Okay, so definitely. Okay, so that's how you got to the piano, right? And
Right.
and so the writing came after, right? So what type of writing?
Well, like I told you, I was just trying to figure out the piano on my own, and
Right.
that led to improvising. And improvising is in itself a form of composition. The only difference between an improvisation and a composition is that you actually write it down. You work something out on the piano and you write it on a piece of paper, and now it's a strict composition.
Right.
And so that's what I'm going to do for you now, actually, because I think we talked off camera. I've been doing this little thing called free JA, which comes from the idea of free jazz, which is a genre unto itself that a lot of people are telling me is underexposed because it's so amazing. Because what it is musicians get together and they just make up the music right there on the spot in front of you. It's pretty courageous, actually. You know what I mean? Because you're making something up. Anything could happen. In fact, anything could happen right now when I make this up. I'm gonna make something up now. We'll see what happens. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into a song that is a composed, written song. I'll just give you a short version of that. But basically, and that's something we were talking about camera because you wanted to know. The first thing you asked me, so I thought was really cool. What is your newest project? Which was great because I was just, in a meeting. Like it was either last night or the night before. It was in the last couple of days. I'm in a meeting, and I'm with the producer, and they're antsy for me to get another project out. And I was telling you that they have this concept that they want me to see what I think about the idea. And what it is it's called Piano Bar Memories, where because piano bar is something everyone knows about. Everyone's been to a piano bar, listen to their favorite songs, sing along, throw money in the tip jar. And I was a piano bar entertainer at one point in my journey, playing piano bars all over the world. Everywhere from Japan to to Norway to Sweden to down here in the village, West Village of New York City. So this is it would be something a little different, and the producer was saying, he said, I want you to do something maybe that nobody could do, nobody else has ever done, because maybe only you could do it, if you could even do it, So he was suggesting, like, why don't you do like a song by Earth, Wind and Fire, just you? That's never been done, So I'm going to play a little bit of that. Now this is just an attempt, like I said, we're just working this out, but I'll give you a little bit of an Earth, Wind and Fire song after I come out of this sequence. I've never done this on any podcast, by the way. I've played a song and then gone into the free improvisation. But this time I'm going to do a free improvisation and then go into the song. So that's kind of a first.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Love was all we could do. We were young and we knew in our eyes were alive. Deep inside we knew our love was true. Oh, why paid no mind to the past. Knew love would last every night.
You didn't see me, but I had my flashlight on my phone, like, yes, yes, yes. That was amazing, amazing. After the love is gone, y'all. After the woo, come on, give it to him. All right, so okay, so you said you had a whole lot of stories for me, okay, and we talked and everything like that. Now singing, let me ask you this first. Now singing, how did you sing? Because like I heard a lot of falsetto. I was looking for the ground. I was looking for the the abdominal, from the gut, kind of deal. So like so you know how to play with your voice, and that's always a great thing. So, how did you learn that?
All right, beautiful. So let me tell you, that's a great question. And I say what I love about you guys is you ask different questions. This is not any podcast. No one's ever asked me this yet. So you're the first. So that's great. People are going to need to come to your podcast to hear this answer now. I learned because I had a chance to play behind so many great singers.
Ooh.
And I would play behind them, and I would hear them, and I would rehearse with them. And there's people singing around me all the time. I played in the church. I played the church organ. I played with the company, the choir, and this and that and the other. So, yeah. So what happened eventually was I started to get, in bands, and they were like, hey, we need you to sing one or two songs, can you? And I was like, that sounds great. Sounds fun, So one of the first songs I sang, I believe, was I was playing in a band that was playing in the school dances, and they were like, look, there's this song by Santana, Evil Ways. Give me, learn that song. You're singing that. You're singing. They just told me I'm singing. So I thought, okay, we've got to change your evil ways, baby. I don't know if you know, it's a very famous song. Then I sang that song in the band, and people danced. And I was like, hey, I like this. If they give, they're going to give me songs, I'm going to sing them. I'll do them. If they give me the song, you ask me to do it, I'll do it. No problem. I'll learn the song, no big deal. So I started out that way in terms of singing, just as a feature here, a feature there, because bands, and a band, if you have the same guy singing every time, it can be a little, and that's why you see bands that they mix it up. They have this guy singing, that guy singing. And Earth, Wind & Fire is a perfect example. Example. They have, so many different singers in that band, and they'll feature Philip Bailey and, Maurice White and et cetera. So I started out that way. And then I started to get in bands where you had these guys singing this falsetto. One of them is actually the famous group, the Platters. They were very famous in the 1950s.
Okay.
And they had all these hits like, I don't know, Deep Purple and Only You, and anyway, they had a slew of kind of big.
Only you. This
Right.
year when I needed a friend.
Well, that's actually no.
Not
This
that
is
one?
different one. You could make the world seem bright. Only you could make the darkness night. That's the song. So, but that was just one of 7 or 8 hits before you were born, because it was even before I was born. Okay, but they were still famous because they were, had all these hits, and we would go on these cruises with, Beatlemania, Wolfman Jack, and these people that were famous from that era. Bobby Rydell. They were, again, it was even before I was born, so that's how far back. But it was like they were like nostalgia cruises and nostalgia things. But I would play in other bands too, like in Boston, playing these bands that would play like funk music, the music of actually they were all black bands. They were playing all that music, great stuff, just great stuff. And I even played in disco bands. I played in a disco band in West Virginia, one of your states. One of the first bands I ever played in was a disco band. I was not even old enough to go in the bar. But they contacted me and they we heard about you. You can play the. We don't care how old you are. We'll take care of your ID. Don't worry about it. I got in a 24-hour bus from Schenectady, New York now with my keyboard all the way down to Savannah, Georgia. And they met me there. We rehearsed in a house. And then they drove to the first gig, which was like 3 weeks long, in West Virginia. I'd never even been to West Virginia. And it was one of these places where the disco music, all the songs, the Bee Gees, all those famous songs from the disco era, we were playing them live, and the place was packed, and the people were dancing, going crazy, and it was quite an experience. But again, I'm hearing them sing falsetto with the Bee Gees and all those kinds of songs. Then after that, when I went to Boston, they didn't want me to go to school. They would stay and play in the band, but I'm like, well, my parents want me to study, blah, blah. So I went, to school from there. I went literally from there to Boston to study school, from this band into Boston to study at New England Conservatory. And from there, I was playing in some bands where they had like these 4 or 5 singers. I don't know if you know the Isley Brothers and all those kinds of bands. Okay, it's like a format. Okay, so there's sometimes there's 4 male singers and 1 woman, something like that.
Like Gladys and the Pips, right? Mm-hmm.
Gladys and the Pips, perfect example. These are like formulas, because you know what it would be? The record company would be like, hey, that's working. Let's get another one, just like that, because there's room. There's work for 3 of these, and they format these bands. So I'd be playing these bands with like the 1 girl singer, the 4 male singers or whatever, and sometimes these guys were, a little inconsistent, you know what I mean? Like they were, things weren't going right for them, and I don't know what was going on, you know what I mean? Because a lot of these guys are, they weren't full-time musicians. They were trying to make it. They had their job, we don't know. So some guy would be, or he wouldn't be available, he wouldn't be able to sing, whatever. And they told me, they said, listen, let me hear you sing falsetto. And, and I do it. Right. And they're like, you learn these notes because if he's not there, or if he's there and you don't hear those notes, you sing them. You know what I mean? I'd be behind the band, and these guys would be, but this guy might have his voice is shot or whatever, and I'd sing his notes because he can't hit it. I'd hit it. He'd stand there, and people would be fine. They'd love it because they heard the sound. They're looking at the guys. The guys are dancing. They're, everything's good as long as I get that note in. So one of those guys told me, he said, I got to tell you something, Rick. He said, if I could sing falsetto like you, and I could play the piano like that, he said, I'd be singing. He said, and he gave me one of those looks, how they give you like, Don't be a fool. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You need to do more of this. So, I took a little vocal class at school. I did this, I did that. But then I got myself into quite a pickle one time where there were some opportunities, and they said, listen, we can hire you, but you got to sing everything because you're going to be the only one on the bandstand. It's piano bar. We don't care how well you play. You already play way too well for this, but there's money here, and they're gonna, we're gonna fly you out there, but you better sing. You better. You know what I mean? So I was like, when I started doing those, now I come back and now I'm like, I crossed the Rubicon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the guys didn't know in New York because I was playing jazz gigs and they had no idea. They just didn't see me for a while.
Right.
But I have been singing for 4 months, 6 nights a week. So you know what I mean? So I had to that was part of me now.
Right.
And I just had to make do.
Right.
And part of making do eventually became where I was going to record my own records. Mm-hmm. Because by recording my own record, I could sing, I could compose, you know what I mean? I could play virtuoso piano or whatever kind of piano I wanted to play. I could do all that,
Right.
Whereas all these jobs I was doing, they were all missing a few puzzle pieces. At the piano bar, they didn't want me to play instrumental. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I just at the beginning. No, I mean, if I did what I did, what you heard at the beginning, if I did that in a piano bar, you know what I mean? They'd be like, another piano player on the subway coming there by the time I finish. You know what I mean? You had to stick to the formula. You know what I mean? But, and that was great, and I enjoyed it, and it was fun. People had, it's great, no problem. But I'm just saying, you got to just do that, When I'm backing up a singer, hey, that's fine. I just back them up. When I'm playing instrumentally, that's fine. But there's no vocals. It's an instrumental jazz group, and that's fine. But if I want to do me, I'm going to have to be the band leader. You know what I mean? I got to make the record, right? So I started making and then when I started making my records, then I started traveling, as me, rather than as, as the side man in this band. You see what I mean? So that's how it kind of all came together.
That is, wow. How can you even live with stories like that and just hold them in? I had to tell everybody that I met on the way to Walmart or something. Like, hey, let me tell you about this time.
Right. I think you're right. Yeah. And that's what's cool about this idiom because people, people like you are asking me for the story. So I don't have to worry about, you know what I mean? Walking around clam. You guys are like, hey, tell me that story.
Exactly. Look, I think so you started with the track from Central Park.
Okay.
Gotta give me what was going on with that.
I love that you asked this because almost nobody knows this, okay? I mean, maybe you can count them on my hand, the people, because I would just tell a friend now than this, just to shock somebody. I would tell them. Sometimes a musician would be surprised,
Right.
But I came to New York. Now, see, when you come, jazz is the type of situation where, at least it was for me at that time growing up, you studied somewhere else, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you could make all your mistakes and get everything together. And then once you were ready, you came to New York and tried to make a name for yourself or whatever.
Yes.
If you can make it there, you can make it
anywhere. Yes.
So I did all that kind of mistake making in Boston, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And now I get to the point where, I gotta come to, even though I was kind of comfortable in Boston because people knew me and I was getting calls and I was paying my bills and I was happy to make a living in music, but I needed to kick myself in the butt, out the door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I come down to New York, and now I'm in New York, and I'm like, I'm in New York. I better just play anything. I better just go out and just tell people, hey, I can do this, I can do that. Yes. Here's my name, here's my number. You need somebody, you call me, blah, 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 whatever it is, Right. And I'm just bouncing around here, bouncing around there. Hey, can you go? We're having a jam session in so-and-so's apartment, Right. Go over there. Here's the address, Go here, blah, blah, blah. And one day I get this call, and it's this guy. He's like, hey, I got your name from so-and-so or such and such. And I got this. He said, do you have a battery-powered keyboard? And I said, I actually do. I have this little practice keyboard that runs on batteries. Great. We're playing a gig. He said, meet me at Grand Central Station. And we play a gig in the subway, 2 days later, he calls me up. Okay, meet me over at such and such, blah, 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 Battery Park, Then another day, hey, Central Park. And then a lot of times, now I'm on this circuit, and it's basically the street circuit.
Yes.
The street circuit. And one of the places that we would play is, and there are certain days where Central Park is good to make street music. Just a little secret out there to you musicians. I mean, I think it's like a certain like Sunday afternoon, you know what I mean? I think Saturday during the day, like weekends,
Right.
When people are not like going through there to get to something.
Yes.
When they're kind of
in that hurry.
walk around, they're just like, I'm here in Central Park. I'm just enjoying. That's when they're like, whoa, let me listen to the band. I'd rather wait, I want to listen to these guys. And then before they leave, they're like, I don't want to just walk away. I'm going to give them a little something. I feel good about myself. Give them some money, So I would play with him, and one day, and see, his name was Bob Arkin. And one day, I would think to myself, that's so funny, this guy, because I know this actor, and I also do acting, but not at that time.
Right.
I know this actor named Bob Arkin, who was in this movie. That was a famous actor, And somebody's trying to call you. So all right. So I asked him one day. I said, don't think I'm crazy, but I just had to ask you this. Are you related to that famous actor Bob Arkin? He says, yeah, I'm his brother. I said, and I asked some other people. I said, yeah, that's his brother. He just doesn't want anybody. But that's his brother. You're the brother. So it was the brother of like a really famous actor calling me for these gigs. And the other guy that I used to see, this is for more musicians, but there's a drummer named Omar Hakim who played with Madonna, and he played with, that's Report. In other words, he played with so many different names that in any genre you would know a band that he played with. His father used to play trombone in one of the bands in the Central Park. So, you could trace things to some of these Central Park guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there were other guys too, but, that's just to give you an example. So, yeah, I played in the park a lot of times.
So, big band stuff, did you do any of that?
Oh, my goodness. So, a weird situation. I was in Boston, and I got a call to play with arguably one of the most famous big bands ever. And that is the Artie Shaw Big Band. And Artie Shaw was a clarinet player back in the day when musicians were as big a star as sports figures. You follow me?
Yes.
So this guy, who I played in his big band, at one time, okay, he was like a Michael Jordan on the clarinet. But that's how big a star he was. He was a star like Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Star like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like superstar type of guy.
Yes.
Even though we don't think that way so much now of musicians as much, but in those days he was like a big star. And he was married to one of the most famous movie stars and had this glamorous, super high, luxury life because of all the money that musicians made back in those days.
Right.
So I did tours with that band, and the reason I told you that I hadn't played in South Carolina very much is because one of the only times I played there was with that band.
Oh,
One time, because we were going on a bus. We were on a bus now, and we were traveling from city to city. And to be honest with you, I never even knew what city we were going to be in next. We would just we would finish the job, get on the bus. Sometimes the bus, we would stay on the bus because it was an overnighter. He had to travel overnight.
Right.
We never took a plane because it's a big van. You can't fly 17 people. You know what I mean?
No, you can't.
You got to put them on a bus.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a bus from here to here to here, and we end up in. I said, "Where are we? What state is this?" All I remember, they told me it's South Carolina. They said we're in South Carolina.
Somewhere.
I played somewhere in South. Now here's a weird Indiana story because that's another state that you lived in, right?
Right.
Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We show up now at this place in Indiana, and now Indiana is not just a suburb of Cincinnati. You know what I mean? It's a big state, and there is some like countryside out there, right?
Yes,
Flat
it
country
is.
kind of
A lot of it.
we went someplace way out now in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, okay?
Really?
And they had this big dance floor set up and the big thing and the stage and everything. Out in the middle of nowhere, they had this whole thing set up for us to play. And we go on stage, I have a piano, and I'm playing, and I'm telling you, 5 million locusts. You know locusts?
Yeah.
Attacked us.
Oh no! What did y'all do?
Attacked everybody. We were just smothered. They just came out of nowhere, and they
said
just
attack.
millions of these locusts. And you know, it's a phenomenon that happens out there every now and then.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just take your chances, because you know there's probably a 1 in a million chance it happens to you.
I know.
But it happened to me. You know, these locusts came and they attacked us. And I'll tell you something. We had to move so fast. There was no time to have. You couldn't have a discussion. You couldn't have a meeting.
You had to grab your stuff and go.
Our stuff and ran onto the bus and kind of squeezed in so the locusts wouldn't get in the bus and found a way, finagled our way on the bus. The bus took off, and that's the last we ever talked about that gig.
Oh.
And it was over. We were only playing like 20 minutes into it. You know what I mean? But it was over.
They didn't like it. They said, no, let's run them out of here.
Locusts closed us down, yeah. That was the first time I've never witnessed anything like that of a swarm of an insect ever since. I mean, I've seen things like minnows, you know, in a bay.
Right.
I've done that, you know, out in Florida, by the way.
Florida.
A place called Lemon Bay, where we would put like 5 minnows on a hook. This would happen, like it's a phenomenon that would happen. All these minnows would come in, throw these 5 things out, and catch giant fish would come in to eat the minnows. But that wasn't, they're not descending on me. They're descending in the water. You know,
right.
That's the closest I have never experienced anything like that. I experienced in Indiana that one day.
That is insane. I'm like, what did you do? Where did y'all go? Like, how did this happen? You know, it's interesting because I guess, you know, when you're in their space, they don't care for that. They're like, nah, we gonna run you out of here.
So many of them that they can just do whatever they want to do. You know, what are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
What do you when you are an army that strong?
Yes.
You're calling the shots.
Yes.
You know?
Basically.
And I don't know what they were doing there. I don't know how they got there. I don't know where they were when we showed up. I don't know any details.
That's farmland for you.
Because the next day we had to play in some other state.
Yeah.
So just life went on. But it was just something you'll never forget.
No.
You know, being swarmed like that. And I'm talking everybody, the people on the dance floor. There were a lot of people at this thing, and everyone was just completely wiped out.
That is horrible. Oh my goodness. Okay.
The only good news is they're probably not going to ask for their money back. You know what I mean?
We got paid still.
I never heard of anything like that. Yeah, I'm sure they said, listen, keep the money. I'm sorry about the locusts.
Right.
And
yeah.
we'll try it again. You know. Next
year. Exactly. Okay. Wow. You got some good stories there. Okay. So tell me. You've done so much. What is like the top thing on that bucket list? Not to say that you're going anywhere, but you know, when you've lived this way, it's kind of hard to like top anything.
Well, you know, for me, what I've noticed is most of the times when I found myself in the most interesting situation, I was trying to do something else. You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to do this and you end up there.
Right.
It's like rare for me. You know, I mean, one reason I've done a lot just because, you know, I think if you stick around on this earth for enough years, you know what I mean? You know, so that's longevity is probably part of it. But for me, I just noticed this over and over again, that I'll be trying to do this and I will end up there. You know what I mean? But that is, it's not something I tried. It's not something I thought of. It's not something I knew existed. But it's something that people are going to be surprised when they hear about it. You know, that's just kind of been the story of me. I mean, just surprising situations that I was trying. You know, I was trying, but I wasn't trying to do that.
Right.
You know, I just right. And that's the result of trying to do this ended up with me over here doing that.
Oh wow. But it made a really good impact and experience and different things like that. And a lot of people look for those type people that are experienced. And I mean, my God, are you experienced? Yes. So definitely. So
Well, thank
what's next? This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, what's next is kind of been evolving with, as you know, all these podcasts. And so, what you just said is something that I didn't really know. I mean, the thing is, here I was getting all these experiences that you've heard stories and new stories. These new stories are different from the other stories, which are different from the other stories. And now, all of a sudden, I mean, the message that I'm getting is, hey, there's an audience of people out there that want to hear, what this journey of yours, you know what I mean? Whatever parts you want to disclose at that moment or this moment, or whatever they want to ask you. And so, at the moment, quite a lot of, you might say mentoring, because if it's not an interview, it's, individuals or human beings or just people that I find out I can make a difference with, based on my knowledge, experience, whatever.
Right.
What I'd like to do, I'd like to help people not slip on the same banana peel that I already slipped on. If I can do that.
That makes sense.
What I mean?
Yes.
Because I think it must be frustrating, let's say for a parent, when their son or daughter makes the same mistake that they know they made it.
Yeah.
I made that mistake when I was your age.
Exactly.
And they can't stop them from making the mistake too.
Right.
So if I was to have a little bit of a ask a genie something, it would kind of be, I wouldn't mind being able to be such maybe an influence or something that somebody would try a suggestion that I have, which would enable them to not make a mistake, you know what I mean, that they would have made without that knowledge, and that, has already been made, So I have an organization called Jazz for Peace, and we do events for outstanding causes. And so
that's awesome.
That's a real tough situation because we're working with an outstanding cause, and we constantly have to tell them, no, we cannot, we don't want to make that mistake. See what this way, they don't know, and they want to slip on that banana peel, and we've already slipped on it. You know what I mean? So no, we got to stick to this program unless you have something that's gonna
benefit
teach you to do. Yeah, then we're fine. Exactly. But we don't want to slip on that banana. You can slip on it by yourself. You know what I mean?
We'll laugh at you, but it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, we already slipped on it, and I don't feel like slipping on it again. My rear end is still hurting from the last time I slept on. I slipped. So yeah, so that kind of thing.
So you're gonna do like a mentoring thing. Now, are you finding that there are a lot of people that want that type of thing because what a lot of the things that are closed right now, I know that makes it pretty difficult.
Well, yeah. So when I'm talking about the mentoring or the interviews or these kinds of things, it's only because it's coming to me. You know what I mean? I didn't think of it. I never thought it. I would have never thought of it. But it's another example of all of this things that I've done here have now opened a door here. So I'm kind of just doing it while the need is there. You know what I mean? While the people are asking me my advice, while the people are having all of these interviews, and while there's an opportunity to stand up for human rights, freedom of speech. I mean, I like this cool little title, Free JA, because it's free jazz, which is a great genre to introduce people to. Many people are going to come to your show now and hear that free improvisation for the first time because they hadn't heard it. They're not going to hear it. It's not something they listen to on the radio or TV. So they hear it for the first time. And then, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that you could free Julian Assange with music, but it's nothing's too crazy for me at this point.
Nope, not at all. Okay, so tell us more about the concert.
The concerts that we do with Jazz Trapeze,
In the
basically,
3JA. Mm-hmm.
oh, well, 3JA is basically a different performance every time. So because I'm making it up, because it's free jazz, it's always different.
Right.
And what I'm doing is I'm documenting each podcast appearance that I perform that on, and we're going to, create a listing, because what might happen is people might want to say, hey, I want to hear all these different versions of Free JA that you've done. Well, you can come to LadyMyya's podcast, you can come to this one. So, and this one that we did today is because I just hit part 1, part 2, part 3. This was part 5. Today was part 5. Yeah.
I'll take it.
So that's, who knows what'll happen after that.
Right.
But I should tell you, I'm getting letters from around the world.
That's amazing.
Of people saying, I think it's wonderful what you're doing.
Right.
To send a message out, to free Julian Assange.
Yes. Yes.
So I got one the other day from Melbourne, Australia.
Ooh.
And it's from an incredible agency called PEN. I don't know what the PEN stands for, but it's a type of an agency that's a human rights agency.
Ooh.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
And this is a human rights agency. This is a woman. I think her name is Constantine or something. She's part of the Human Rights Agency, one of the heads of the Human Rights Agency. And she sent me a letter saying, we've been watching your podcast where you play this song, Free JA, and we just think, someone of your, some people think I'm famous or whatever, someone of your stature, playing this and getting the word out to free Julian Assange. We just want to let you know that we think it's so wonderful and to keep it up. So, I'm getting these letters from around the world. So like I said, I don't know where it's all going to lead,
Right.
but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? If people are, yeah, you know what I mean? If people are saying, hey, that's a good thing you're doing, if it's kind of like a little, they're kind of saying, I hope you can take a hint because we want you to keep going. Yeah. So for the meantime, I think maybe I'll just keep going until they free them.
How about that? Why not? Heck.
I mean, if you don't want me to do it anymore, how's this one? If you don't want me to do it anymore, let him go.
I'm going to do it until I get what I want.
Right, yeah, you can just let the guy go and I'll stop.
Yes, how about that? Oh my goodness. That's going to be, I think everything that you do is amazing because, it's for a cause, and then at the same time, the love of the music. I mean, the music is big. That brings us so many people together. That gets the attention, that gains attention. So it's just one of those things that, we all need in our house and, in our home. And because even more so now because of the fact that we have to stay in as much as we do to get something like that concert. So, we're going to have a talk. We're definitely going to be having a talk about that one. We have to. Yeah. So, please tell my Mayan tribe, dear, how they can reach you.
Okay. So, you can reach, we have an email address. And, Jazz Repeats, everything we do starts with a comment. Because we take our cues from you out there. You know what I mean? It could be someone writing a comment, hey, I saw you on the show. I've researched Jazz Repeats. I've watched those videos, and I want you to help this outstanding cause in my city, or we've got this, or just, you can say anything you want. Freedom of speech, which we're fighting for. So, you can reach us anytime by email, and it's just a simple info, the basic email address, info at jazzforpeace.org, and that's JAZZ, the American spelling of jazz, not the Haitian, right? FORPEACE.org. So info at jazzforpeace.org. Now, jazzforpeace.org is our website, so that's www.jazzforpeace.org. And, if you're ambitious and you got your R's and L's all together, you could also go to rickdellaratta.com, or you can, if you search my name It's kind of crazy if you search my name on Google and YouTube and all that stuff. It's, crazy the stuff that comes up. The funny stuff that would come up if you want to just have fun, you could type in Rick DellaRatta, if you can spell my name, DellaRatta, famous quote. And I have this famous quote attributed to me. And it'll take you to this website that has quotes from, Martin Luther King, you know what I mean?
Right.
Gandhi, whatever, John F. Kennedy, all these,
big,
figures.
extravagant people, yeah.
Yeah, and it's in there. I don't know how it got in there. I have no idea. It's in there. I'm like, this one, that one, that. I had a list once, and they had, their top quotes about this for the month or whatever, and I was after Einstein, and I was like, whoa, that's a big people right there.
What did you say, sir?
I said in an interview, this is just an interview, and they lifted it from the interview. All I said was this. I said, if we fill our souls up with creativity, artistry, intellectuality, humanity, individuality, things of that nature, we will have a better chance at avoiding the behavior that leads to destruction.
Ooh, that's deep right there.
Just off the top of my head, I said it, okay? And it came out in an article. Now, this article came out right after 9/11, so there's a little bit of,
Right.
You know what I mean? There was a lot of energy in the air at that time.
True.
And somehow that article got read, and somebody liked that sentence and went boink, you know what I mean? And it just ended up here and here and here and here, and it's just...
It's exploded, sir.
There's one, it exploded. It just, and I've never really had much explode with me. Most of my stuff fizzles out, you know what I mean? But that one, so there's this, there's one, I mean, because you get astounded every now and then by a new one. There's one that's like top 25 quotes of avoiding war. Top 25 quotes of all time of avoiding war. And I'm number 3.
I'm number 3. How did that happen?
Yes, how did that happen? I mean, whatever. I'll tell you what, I do stand by every word. It is true. And if you want to put it on your website, I think it's a good idea. Go ahead.
Oh,
It's just,
don't. Look,
yeah.
I got you.
Broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
I'm going to do that. That is, you know what? I have to make sure that you are saying it and I have your voice saying it and put it with the quote so people can see or hear what it is so that, it's going to stand up and stand out for people to understand. Come on now, get it together. What's the problem?
Yeah. But like I said, if you just Google my name and you put famous quote, whoosh, all those sites come up.
Is.
But that's what it'll say when you go to the site. Those are what I just told you. But yeah, if you could do that, that'd be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Because it does, those words do resonate. I think sometimes, I'll be honest with you, I think sometimes because with music, it kind of comes through you.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost like, I hate to even credit myself sometimes. I'm like, this came through me. I don't came from out there. You know what I mean? I can't really. Now, don't get me wrong. We practice and we study, we do all that. But when it's time to hit, when it's time to play, the music is supposed to flow through you, you know? So it's possible that those words also just flow through me, I mean, I was thinking good thoughts. I was trying to play a good game of life every day. I was doing all the things I did. But just the guys interview me and whoosh, it just flows through. So, sometimes we need to credit a higher power for some of our good things,
Always. Yes, because sometimes we don't even think about it, and he'll use us as a mouthpiece and just be like, "Whoa!" I don't know where that came from. Sorry, my bad. It wasn't me.
It is, yeah, and you know what it is. We prepare, you prepared yourself in life, and the next thing you know, here you are giving this podcast, and you probably have all interesting people on there, and you get to ask them what you want to ask them. Not if you were on MSNBC or Fox or any of the news, they tell you what to ask. You'll be able to ask real questions.
I don't like that.
Right? You're able to ask. So, in other words, preparation met opportunity. You prepared and it's your opportunity. So, again, when I said that sentence, it was luck, But the luck was because preparation
Yes.
had met opportunity.
Yeah. Preparation had that opportunity. I think you gave him another quote, sir. You just gave him.
Well, I think someone said that before me. That's a good one. That's a good quote. We should find out who actually. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes. Oh my goodness. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here on my show. This is amazing. Thank you so much, Rick. Your stories and your personality and your energy is so amazing. I'm the one trying to give all the energy, and you did it for me. So I'm like, yes, definitely. Okay, so my Mayan tribe, you know what time it is. It is time to wrap this thing up. So I first want to definitely tell you, hey, you got to look this guy up. You have to, and trust me, you will enjoy it. So even if you don't like one thing, you're gonna like the other. So it's just like, everybody's got their own little feel and style to doing anything. So definitely, I'm looking forward to everything that you got going on, with the 3 Ja, and I think that is gonna be amazing, and I only hope the best for you. And everything. So my Mayan tribe, if you would like to be on Living Your Best Life with LadyMyya, you can always hit me up at my email address, which is at admin@ladymyya.com. That is admin@ladymyya.com. And that is MYYA. And you know why? Because your homegirl is special. I'll be talking to you guys